Hi guys, Coach Steve here from Rep Possible. Today's video we're going to be focusing on the double under. So the double under is a movement that's showed up in almost every CrossFit Open ever. And as we move towards this year's Open, it might be a good time for you to get a hold of your double unders. The video will focus on both beginner and intermediate all the way through to advanced. Even if you have your double unders at the moment, we'll cover off on some stuff that maybe will help you be more efficient. Perhaps your double unders are there, but you feel like you're exhausted at the end of every set. That's not what we want. So stay tuned, jump to the parts that are useful to you, and yeah, let's get started. All right, so first up, let's talk about your rope. Okay, it might seem like a simple thing when we're talking about skipping, but this is important. When you're learning, or when you've perhaps never been to a CrossFit box before, you might only know a skipping rope as one of these guys, a fixed handle, maybe a little bit thicker material. This is fine actually for learning your double unders if you're brand new. The advantage of this rope is that you'll be able to feel the weight of the rope in your hand. However, there are limitations to this, and I would only recommend beginners sticking with this for a short amount of time, perhaps just to get the feel of skipping in general. What you will very quickly need to move on to is what we have here is a speed rope. Okay, so the difference between a speed rope is the handle is no longer fixed, okay? It's on a bearing here and it will spin. This is going to allow the rope to move much quicker around your body without your hands having to do the extra work. All right, when we're talking about being efficient with our skipping, this is super important. I would recommend, even as a beginner, you go and get yourself your own rope as soon as you can. When you're using other ropes, it's going to be a problem for many reasons, and the first one of those is size. Okay, so let's talk about sizing our rope. The best thing I find is if you just step on the rope with one foot, bring the rope up to your body. For me, I've always used nipple height as an example. All right, now I understand nipples might be different for different people. So also you can think about just here under your armpits. But it should be around that bench press sort of line height where we would normally be pressing our bar from. That to me is enough rope. Some coaches will have you go a little bit lower, but as a beginner, I feel like a little bit extra rope, or maybe an inch or so, is going to be an advantage to you when you're learning. Why is the rope length super important? This is something you should get right from the very beginning, okay? You don't have enough rope, that's gonna cause you problems. You're gonna have to jump higher to clear the rope just to get one skip in. You have too much rope, it's gonna be dragging on the floor. It's gonna take a lot longer to pass under your body. It's gonna also cause you to start missing, okay? So rope size, super important. All right, so once we've got the length of our rope set up, the next thing we're going to focus on is body positioning, okay? So there's a few key elements to that we'll go over. Body positioning, when we're jumping in a skip, we want to be as efficient as possible. We want our feet to be within shoulder width and nice and upright. So if you look at me from side on, okay, I'm not hinging here, I'm not sort of buckled at the knees. I want to be in this nice upright position. This is going to allow me to access the balls of my feet and pogo jump, okay? We'll get to that in a minute. What I want to do with my hands, super important. I need my hands to be low and in front when we're learning especially. Okay, so low always, but a little trick for beginners is going to be, start with your hands by your side as low as you can. Grab your handle of your rope, and we're going to point the rope down into the floor. And then from here, all I want you to do is bring your hands slightly in front. Okay, so when your head is up and you're looking off into the distance, in your peripheral vision, you should be able to see the ends of your handles. Okay, so what this does is it helps us connect the movement with our timing from our mind to what we're actually doing with our hands. It's about hand-eye coordination. Okay, it will not be important later on once you've got the hang of it and you'll be able to bring those hands in a little bit tighter, but whilst you're learning, there's no harm in pushing your hands a little bit further in front. Moving on, let's talk about how we're actually going to achieve the skip. putting all that body positioning, hands in front, all of that together, and what we actually do with it when we start to skip. So, just gonna chuck this down. You might have heard your coach at your box talk about a penguin jump as a way for beginners to start to feel what we call tempo. All right, so tempo means, and this is a big one, guys, especially for some of you that might have a handful of double unders but haven't been able to string them together in big sets. It's likely gonna be a tempo issue. Tempo is the ability to move the rope as we jump. Okay, so the thing that unlocked this for me when I was learning was understanding that the flicking of my wrists as I'm jumping is what creates my timing. If you just spin the rope up as fast as you can and jump a few times, you might get a handful of double unders, but you're not going to be able to sustain that, okay? So what we're going to talk about now is tempo. As I said before, some coaches might have told you about the penguin taps, okay? So that's a really good way of getting your brain to connect tempo. What you'll do there is you'll keep your feet underneath shoulder width, as we spoke about before. You're gonna access the balls of your feet, so you're not gonna be on your heels, you're gonna be up on your balls of your feet. We're gonna do what I call a pogo jump, which is just straight up and down. I'm not bending my knees a whole lot. I'm not flicking my heels back. I'm not donkey kicking, and I'm not tucking my knees up. I'm just here on the balls of my feet. Small jumps. As I'm in the air, my hands in that position we just spoke about for my skip, all I'm gonna do is tap my quad here, the top of my leg, twice. What that's teaching us to do is create that rhythm. As you're up, you're flicking your wrists. The rope is moving 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so a few demos, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Get into it. If you're brand new to this, that's gonna be your first step because it's gonna help you create that rhythm in your mind of what you're going to need to do when ultimately you replace the empty hand with a rope and you start to practice flicking the rope. Now, if you are a beginner, this is where the frustration's going to set in. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is going to be difficult. I've known some absolute veterans of CrossFit, people that have owned their own affiliates, and they still don't have nice double unders, okay? It takes time to learn. But I promise you, if you do stick with it, you will learn it. So, for the beginners, now what you're gonna do is you're gonna put that rope directly behind you, and you're gonna go through all of those little steps we spoke about. You're gonna push your hands low in front, okay? You're gonna get used to, that is your starting position. You're gonna point your little Harry Potter wands at the ground. Okay, you're naturally gonna wanna to have them sticking out or even up. I want you to think about wands to the floor, all right? That's gonna be your starting position. What I want you to do from there is just spin up a few reps, okay? On the balls of your feet, so get off your heels. We're gonna spin up a few reps. Singles only. Okay, I just want you to feel the flick of that wrist as you're in the air. Simple stuff. For our beginners, now what I want you to do is try and imagine that exact same motor pattern, okay? So what I see all the time is people will go, yep, I can do single skips all day, and then as soon as they try and do a double under, they do this huge big jump up in the air. It's all over the place. We want that exact same mechanic. We want it to look the same essentially as a single. You might have to jump just a smidge higher, but honestly, it should look pretty much the same. All I want you to do then is think, again, hands low, in front, do a couple of singles, and then we're gonna start to work in some doubles. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so it's this same mechanic. I want you to be on the balls of your feet, get off your heels, hands low, and in front. What you're gonna find, guys, straight away, especially when you're learning, is this body position here is very quickly gonna become this or this. That's very natural, but I wanna illustrate something for you here. When my hands are low and in front, look at how much rope there is on the ground in front of me. To jump this rope is gonna be super easy. I might even have too much rope here. But as soon as my hands start to get wide, that rope is now getting shorter and shorter and shorter. And if I start to shrug my shoulders, which is what we do when we're under pressure and under tension, now the rope's at shin height. Okay, if you're finding that your hands are getting this wide, this is a major problem for all people with double unders. So I want you to practice tucking those elbows against the body, pointing your Harry Potter wands down and against the ground, and looking at how much rope that creates, how much easier that's going to be. So when I spin up a couple of reps, I think elbows in, wands down, hands in front, and I can maintain that. Sorry, the mic fell off. So what I want us to do is practice this. Tucking our elbows into our sides. You may have seen some other coaches, some other videos talk about maybe putting a towel or something in there that you have to hold that forces you to keep your hands in. That's not a bad idea. Whatever it takes for you to keep those elbows in and those hands low, okay? Harry Potter wands down, pointed at the floor. All right, when you go now to practice a few reps, you will feel those things starting to happen. Maybe you're shrugging your shoulders excessively because you're under fatigue. All of those little things, we need to drop our shoulders, tuck our elbows, and point our hands to the floor, all right? So let's practice some reps with all of those things happening. So we've gotten all of our steps in. We've got our rope size, we've got our body positioning, we know where our hands are gonna be, we know how we're gonna activate our jump in that pogo jump. We're not gonna be tucking our knees or donkey kicking out the back. All of those things are very simple on their own. Putting them together, of course, that's gonna take you a bit of practice, a bit of time. What I want you to do though is that key there, practice. Practice, practice, practice. You will not get this overnight, but you will get it. When you're practicing, I don't want you to, this might be a little bit controversial, a little bit different to other coaches. I don't want you to go single, double, okay? I don't want you to learn bad rhythms that are not gonna carry over into you eventually getting lots and lots of double unders or big sets of double unders. The reason I say that is your single under skip should look like your double under skip, as we spoke about earlier. So when you're practicing, I want you to just practice your skips and do nice controlled sets where as you're jumping, you're thinking about your penguin wrist flicks and maintaining that for maybe a set of 10, maybe a set of 20, whatever's within your realm once you've started to feel what it's like to get a few reps. Okay, that's how we're gonna progress rather than doing one and then losing our rhythm, going down to a different kind of skip and then jumping back up to get a double under. So finally, I wanna talk about some tips and tricks that are gonna help you turn your sets of 5, 10, 15 into sets of 50, 100, 150 double unders. And it's gonna leave you feeling less exhausted, more ready to move on with whatever is in that CrossFit Games open workout and not have you hunched over dying because of these damn double unders, all right? First things first, the rope. Now you might not be able to hear it. We're here at the wonderful CrossFit Wanderlust here in Bali. There's music, there's some fans going, but I can hear it here, I promise you. Is when I'm skipping, I'm hearing the tap of the rope hit the floor every time. This is something you'll become acutely aware of once you start listening for it. You should be hearing a click, 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 click as that rope touches the floor. If you're not hearing it, it probably means your hands have gone wide and the rope's no longer touching the floor, or your rope is too short. Either way, it's not efficient. You're having to jump very high and eventually, I promise you, you're gonna trip. So you should be hearing that click, 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 click. It will also help you with your cadence, your rhythm, the tempo of your hands. So listen for the rope. Next, breathing. Okay, so a trick that I often go over with my classes when I'm coaching is the ability to have a conversation whilst you're doing double unders. That's not realistic in the workout, okay, because we're under high intensity, we're looking to get a great time. But conceptually, that's what we're after. We want our breathing to be so controlled during this movement that it's almost a rest. Okay, you see some of the great games athletes when they move on to their double under portion of the workout, that's when they're actually recovering. The way we do that is by implementing all of those strategies we spoke about earlier, especially with our controlled jump and not tucking our legs, but also through breathing through the reps. Okay, you should be able to have, and I should be able to demo it right now. I should be able to continue speaking to you guys, and it shouldn't really be feeling like I'm in a sprint. This should be a pretty controlled movement. I might fall off. But you get the point, guys. So that's it. That's your double unders. Guys, go and practice, okay? This is not gonna come overnight, but you can get this in maybe 3 or 4 weeks. You can become fairly efficient. The CrossFit Open, we know, is coming February, March of this year, or for whatever this is. Maybe you just want to be able to join the class and hit that RX button at the end of a workout. Don't let something as silly as a double under be preventing you from moving forward with your training. Get in there, practice, go back to your setup, to your jump, all the steps we spoke about. And if you have any questions, drop them below, because I'm more than happy to respond and help wherever I can. This has been a first video from us here at Rep Possible. We'll be traveling around, we'll be creating some more helpful tips and tricks leading up to the CrossFit Open and beyond. So please hit like, hit subscribe, and thank you so much if you have watched all the way through. As Craig Ritchie would say, you're an absolute legend, and we will see you in the next video. Cheers.